Two men are seen running for their lives as someone is hunting them down. They get to the elevator and one presses the button while the other draws his gun to fight off whatever is coming. He peeks around the corner to assess the situation, and he immediately gets headshot out of nowhere. The other guy begins panicking even more, but he takes the gun from his dead friend and intends to use it to protect himself. As he sees the attacker's shadow approaching, he fires a couple of shots and quickly gets into the elevator. As he does this, the hitman who's after him walks around the corner and makes direct eye contact with him. As the man is in the elevator, he takes a moment to process the fact that the Fable hitman is after him. Fable is a legend in the underworld, and you know he's good because he's currently doing parkour off the side of the building to catch up to the elevator and get to target. The man knew it was a bad idea to start human trafficking, but he did it anyway, and the consequences have come to bite him. Everyone, even his boss, has been killed. He was in the middle of making a deal to sell a bunch of people, then he got headshot out of nowhere, followed by everyone else in that room. He was the only person who managed to make it this far, so he's determined not to die. As the elevator reaches the ground floor, the man steps out and immediately catches a straight to the neck from Fable. Since the wound isn't immediately fatal, he calls for the guards to kill Fable while they have the chance. But as one fires at him, Fable dodges the bullets and immediately headshots the guy. The other one is slightly better and manages to knock his gun out of his hand, but even in hand-to-hand combat, Fable is unmatched. The first guy managed to reach for his gun while Fable was distracted, but he doesn't have a clear shot since Fable is using the guard as a meat shield. The trafficker takes the shot anyway but misses. However, Fable hits right on the mark. He has officially fatally wounded all his targets, but to make sure they are all dead, he reloads his gun and double taps everyone. Afterwards, he heads over to his ride where the girl behind the wheel asks if he's alright since she heard a few gunshots. He says he is fine, but dealing with those guys was really annoying since they were all amateurs. So since it's done now, he just has one thing he wants to do: watch his favorite comedy show. The girl doesn't understand how Fable could possibly have it in him to laugh so much right after he killed 5 or 6 people, but he doesn't see a problem with it. All those guys were human traffickers anyway, so there's nothing to feel bad about. She takes him to the dock as usual, where Fable takes apart his gun and discards its barrel into the water, and afterwards, they both head back to their base. The girl talks with their boss and explains how everything went with the mission, but she'll never get over the fact that Fable can laugh so hard at a comedy show when he's got more bodies than he can even keep track of. Just then, Fable returns from the bathroom and gets told to sit down because the fish is ready, but he doesn't really like fish. As they get ready to eat, their boss complains about how hard being a hitman has gotten in the last few years. Everywhere you go now, there are those pesky security cameras, so you've got to be even more careful now. But Fable just seems to be more worried about the fish. The girl assures him that she made sure to destroy all the cameras before the mission started, and the boss asks Fable if he knows how many people he has killed in his 6 years of being a hitman. Fable never kept count of things like that, but the exact number is 71. And every person he has killed has been either a Yakuza boss, a politician, a president, or something, so the price for getting info on them is really high. They've already spent 100 million yen on info brokers this month. Fable still doesn't care about it and is more concerned about his fish, so he gives it to the girl, telling her to blow on it for him since it's too hot. Fable asks the boss when their next job is going to be, but he says there won't be a next one. They've done too many jobs this year, so they're going to have to lay low for a while. The boss pulls out a bag full of cash and tells Fable that this is the money he has earned from all his recent. He does the same with the money the girl has made recently and pulls out a plastic bag full of cash for her. They'll both take this money and go hide out for a while. He's going to go through the effort of making a fake driver's license and insurance card for Fable and the girl. There's a certain group he has connections with, the Yakuza, so he'll set things up so that they don't have any problems with Fable, but the same goes for him as well. They are meant to be laying low there, so they aren't allowed to cause trouble either, so they should move to Osaka and live a quiet life. Since the girl isn't done cooling off the fish, Fable asks why he needs to move all the way over there if they are just meant to be laying low, but the boss thinks it will be some valuable experience for him to learn how to adapt to a new environment. It'll help with his job as a hitman as well if he can blend in perfectly with ordinary people. Fable isn't opposed to the idea since it sounds like it will be fun, but if he kills anyone while he's on break, the boss will personally drive up there to end him. Later, Fable and the girl head over to his apartment so they can pack his bags, but there isn't really much for him to pack in the first place. She gets his attention to show him the driver's license the boss made for him, and he used the worst photo imaginable for it. The name on the card is Akira Sato, so that's his new name. In the meantime, he's busy going through the house, bringing out all the guns he has stashed all over the place, and he has stashed quite a few all over the place. He asks the girl if the house has already been arranged, but she isn't sure of that yet. But she has also gotten her fake ID, and her name is Yoko Sato. Since they have the same last name, things could go one of two ways, but Yoko clarifies that they'll be siblings, not a married couple. Akira asks if he can see the photo on her ID, but it was so bad that she refuses to let him see, no matter what. Yoko warns Akira that the boss told them not to bring any guns while they are laying low, but he isn't planning on taking them with him. He's just going to leave it in the microwave so the boss can come and pick it up later. If that's the case, then she asks why he only brought out 2 of his guns since she knows he has a Nighthawk as well. Akira admits that he's still got that one, but he disassembled it, so it shouldn't be a problem. Yoko says it's definitely going to be a problem since it is still a gun, but it means a lot to him, so she lets him keep it, even if the boss ends up getting in trouble for it. They leave to begin their new life together, and while they are riding together, Yoko asks Akira why he chose to become a hitman. He doesn't feel inclined to answer her questions, so he asks her how she ended up in this line of work in the first place. So she explains that when she was 10 years old, her house burned down, killing both her parents in the process. For some reason, the boss decided to take her in and taught her a bunch of illegal stuff. Then eventually, she ended up as Fable's assistant and getaway driver. Since she has revealed her backstory, she wants Akira to do the same, but he still refuses unless she shows him the picture on her driver's license. They argue with each other as they continue down the road, and once they finally take a break, they are getting ready to head into a convenience store. But as they stand up, Akira warns Yoko that the 2 guys over there are car burglars. He can tell just by their general demeanor, so he tells her to head in without him so he can watch the car, and also to get him a coffee on her way back. He then takes his seat on the bench nearby and watches as the burglars look for their next target. He is silently rooting for them to go after his car that has 50 million in it, but these guys aren't professionals, so they walk right past it. However, they turn around and spot Akira staring at them, so they make him their next target instead. He really doesn't want to fight, so he gives up and complies with their demands immediately. But then they make the mistake of touching him, and his hitman instincts take over, making him throat punch one guy and readjust the other one's chin. At the same time, Yoko had just gotten back with a coffee and she's freaking out because the boss will warn them specifically not to kill anybody. Akira says it's not his fault since they attacked him first, and besides, they are probably still alive. Yoko drags him back to the car and drives off so they don't get dragged into any trouble over this. She tells him he can't be beating people up like that every time someone annoys him, because if he keeps going off like he did just now, he's going to end up killing someone. Akira thinks about it for a second, and he now realizes that not murdering people may be a little harder than he had first anticipated. They finally reach Osaka, so Yoko gives Akira a quick reminder that he needs to speak in the local dialect so he can blend in. Fortunately, Akira has mastered the ability to switch dialects on a whim, so he doesn't think that'll be a problem. Akira asks about the Maguro group, which will be helping them get a place to stay. He may have worked with them in the past, but that was 3 years ago, and he never actually met them in the first place. He just killed a guy they wanted dead. Since that's the case, Yoko explains the whole structure of the group. They have 20 members, and they are the only Yakuza group in the area, and their boss is called Hiroshi Hamada. In the group, the only ones who are aware of their situation are Hamada and his appointed captain, Takeshi Ebihara. They drive further into the city, and once they finally park the car, Yoko has a look of disgust on her face as she watches Akira do whatever this is. He says it will allow him to flip the switch in his head and speak with the local dialect, and once he is done, his technique seems to have been really effective since he speaks exactly like a local now. Since they've got their accents down, Yoko suggests they go shopping for some new clothes for Akira to stop giving off the killer vibe. Meanwhile, over at the Maguro group, Ebihara is asking Hamada if it's really a good idea to be harboring someone as dangerous as Fable Hitman. He's met a lot of dangerous people throughout his life, but Fable is a different breed of dangerous. However, while the boss agrees that it's not ideal to have to house him, the Maguro group has no reason to be scared of him as long as none of them kill his dog or something. Besides, all they are doing is giving him a place to stay for a while, so there shouldn't be much trouble from him. Hamada doesn't know much about Fable in the first place since he has never actually met the guy, but the things the former boss had told him about Fable make him sound like a walking disaster. On the job he did for them, he was tasked with taking out the Semikan group, and he did not disappoint. He took out the boss and every single member of that group in under 2 minutes, and almost every corpse was taken out in one shot, either to the head or to the heart. He was able to single-handedly destroy a rival Yakuza group with no trouble, so Ebihara wonders if it is really possible for a human to kill people so mercilessly, but he has no idea. Normal people feel reluctant to take a life, and even trained killers feel some amount of guilt, but Fable is the kind of person to wipe out an entire family and eat hamburgers on the way home. As far as hitmen go, he's a genius at killing, and said genius seems to have just arrived as one of their men comes to inform them that the Satos are here. Hamada and Ebihara both get up and head over to the conference room to meet with the legendary hitman, but as Akira enters, they are a little thrown off by the makeover Yoko gave him because he looks harmless now. They welcome both Akira and Yoko, telling them to make themselves comfortable and sit down. And to start, Ebihara has a question for Akira. He knows he is meant to be a genius at killing, so he asks what he would do if he had to kill both himself and Hamada right now. So considering the current situation, Akira decided that the best course of action would be to crush Ebihara's throat and then take the gun in his pocket. From the outline in his jacket, he assumes Ebihara brought a .22 caliber revolver, and he was pretty close, but it's actually a .38 caliber. Hamada scolds Ebihara for bringing a gun into the meeting room when things like that are strictly prohibited, so Ebihara apologizes and says he just didn't want to be unarmed if he was meeting a famous hitman for the first time. But his question hasn't been completely answered, since even if Akira took the gun from him, it only has 5 bullets in it, so how would he handle the 10 guys that would rush in as soon as he tried anything? Akira doesn't think that would be a problem either, since he could always just take the gun that Hamada brought in with him as well. Hamada admits that Akira is right, but Ebihara doesn't know how he could have possibly figured it out. Akira has his way of figuring out things like this, but he doesn't know how to explain it to other people. Moving on, Ebihara tells him that the only people who know of their true identity are him and Hamada, so he's got to keep that in mind since the others think he is just a regular dude. Maguro is glad to have the 2 perfectly normal Sato siblings live here, but there are some ground rules they need to set first. They'll be provided a house, and they are free to live there any way that they want, but if they get into any trouble, the Maguro group won't clean up after them in any way. Plus, if they end up causing a lot of trouble, they may decide to kick them out of the house immediately. Yoko believes those rules will be easy to follow, so Hamada tells Ebihara to take them to the house they'll be staying in. But as they get up, Akira seems to be staring at Ebihara a little too much. Ebihara asks him if there's something wrong, so Akira tells him that he's got a nose hair sticking out. On the car ride to the house, Yoko scolds Akira for pointing out something like that when there was no reason to do so. But the sight of the nose hair was bothering Akira, so that was all the reason he needed to point it out. They arrive at the house Ebihara is showing them, and he says it's the same one he and a couple of other members used when they were in trouble, so it's already got some furniture in it. He leads them into the garage and shows them his car as well. It's an old hobby of his, so he's really proud of it. The door behind the car leads to the house on the 2nd floor, and it's got everything they'll need, but while they are here, Ebihara has an extra rule he wants to add. Under no circumstances are they to ever touch his car. Akira says he has no interest in an old car like this, but he also points out that Ebihara's nose hair is showing again, so Yoko apologizes and says she will teach Akira some manners later. With that aside, Ebihara has something he wants to ask Akira. He has heard all the rumors about him being able to kill almost any target in one shot, but Ebihara doesn't blindly believe rumors, so he wants to see it for himself. He hands Akira his revolver, and Akira doesn't have a problem with showcasing his skill, but Yoko is greatly opposed to it since it's a bad idea to shoot a gun indoors. Ebihara says it's fine since it's only old people living around here, and most of them don't give a damn about what happens anymore. But Akira doesn't look very skilled with how he handles the revolver since he drops the gun on the floor. He isn't used to revolvers, but that doesn't mean his aim is any worse. He asks what Ebihara wants him to shoot at, but he says he'll tell him what to shoot at soon, and he'll need to find and shoot it in 2 seconds. Fable says he is ready, so Ebihara calls for him to shoot the security camera, and Akira takes the shot, but it looks like he just shot a random wall since Yoko points out that the camera was on the other side of the wall. Akira says he shot at that spot because it bothered him more than the obvious security cameras, but there's a bigger problem at hand because Ebihara is upset that the shot Akira fired ended up causing debris to land in his precious car. Akira doesn't think it's his fault since Ebihara is the one who told him to shoot, but before Ebihara can blow a head gasket, Yoko steps in and tries to calm him down, promising that she will make sure the car is cleaned until it's spotless. Her charms seem to calm him down, but after Ebihara left, he asks the guy driving to pull up the security cameras for the garage. As expected, one of the two cameras is broken, meaning Akira actually spotted the hidden tiny camera and destroyed it in one shot. But Akira isn't the only skilled one there, since Ebihara is shocked that Yoko managed to pull on his heartstrings so easily. He tells the guy to keep an eye on them at all times, and he means it when he says at all times. Inside the house, Akira is already busy making sure that the Maguro group can't keep an eye on him by getting rid of all the cameras they had hidden throughout his room. After he's done with all that, he heads up to the rooftop and stares into the sunset, wondering what he's supposed to do with his new quiet life for the next year. Just then, he notices a woman in one of the neighboring buildings, and he seems to find her interesting in a way. That night, the guy Ebihara tasked to keep an eye on Akira is up and ready to begin spying on them with all the cameras that were planted in the room, and he is paying extra special attention to the footage of Yoko changing. So much so that he had to pull out a bottle of lotion to help him see better. A while later, Ebihara enters the car, but there's a funky smell in the air for some reason. The guy lies and says he just ate his dinner, but that aside, Ebihara asks how the surveillance is going. The guy says the cameras in Yoko's room are working fine, and he is absolutely sure of that. But all the ones in Akira's room seem to be broken for some reason. Ebihara had expected as much since Akira was able to spot the hidden camera in the garage, but the guy has a few questions about why Ebihara is so insistent on watching these siblings, because for all intents and purposes, they seem to be perfectly normal. Ebihara doesn't hide his intentions and says he wants to chase those two out of town, since even if boss Hamada is okay with it, he doesn't agree with the arrangement that was made. Seeing that Ebihara is serious about this, the guy asks just who those two really are, but there are some things that need to remain secret for his own good. All he needs to know is that they need to be sent packing. Ebihara has parked a minicar behind the one they are in right now, so he wants them to switch to that one so that Akira doesn't recognize them as part of the Maguro group. Meanwhile, Akira is spending his night as any normal hitman would, cleaning up his prized gun while butt naked at his desk. Just then, he gets a call from Yoko, and she invites him out for a night of drinking to celebrate their vacation. Akira isn't so enthusiastic since he can't relax at the counter of an unfamiliar place, but Yoko seems to love it. The mobster that Ebihara had instructed to get Akira and Yoko evicted is outside the bar and assumes the two are just having a moving-in party, but orders are orders, so he calls up one of his friends and asks him to send over his buddy who used to be a professional fighter. Inside, Yoko is enjoying the scenery while Akira is busy looking around the room for any possible threats. Yoko tells him to stop since it's rude to stare at people like that, but it's a habit of his and he's only doing it because they are in an unfamiliar town. So he's got to take note of the building layout and the people here. Yoko tells him to just relax and have fun, but Akira doesn't see what's so fun about what they are doing. They're just drinking in a bar. Akira asks if she's going to find a hobby for herself, and Yoko already knows exactly what she's going to be doing while she's here. She's going to get herself a hot boyfriend, so Akira had better not kill him. Outside, Takahashi's friend and the kickboxer have finally shown up, so Takahashi tells them that they are going to be beating a guy up, but just enough to scare him and maybe break a few bones. As Akira and Yoko leave the bar, Yoko is clearly drunk while Akira looks like he didn't even have anything to drink since his body is so resistant to alcohol. Just then, they get cornered by the guys Takahashi called, and he knows where this is going, so he tells Yoko to go home for now. The kickboxer gives Akira a kick, but he just tanks it and stays upright. Once again, Akira tells Yoko that she had better go home now because if these guys hurt her, then he may kill them. But if he's on his own, then he knows how to handle the situation. Yoko takes the hint and leaves him to do his thing. With Yoko gone, the short guy steps up to fight Akira, but Akira can tell that he has no training whatsoever, so as he throws a punch, Akira moves his head in a way that ends up breaking the guy's fingers, but he still pretends to get her as well. He does the same thing as the guy tries to kick him, blocking it with his elbow and fracturing the guy's shin, but also still acting like he took the most damage. After his friend was done, the kickboxer stepped up and Akira already has a plan to take care of him as well. He starts with a high kick to the head, so Akira slips out of it, but make it seem like the hit connected so the guy will see him as a wimp. Then when he throws a punch at him, he gets it lined up to cause him to start bleeding, and then starts crying to make them feel bad about attacking him. Akira is truly a professional even when it comes to looking like a loser. As he was about to get up, he was approached by that woman from earlier who offers him a handkerchief to clean off the blood on his face. But he refuses and says he is fine, so she leaves him alone and runs off to do something. Later, Takahashi pays his friend and the kickboxer for the work they did, but he only gives them 5,000 yen each. He praises the kickboxer for beating Akira up so badly, but the kickboxer felt like something was off because he knows he didn't land the kick that hard. And Akira actually seems to have enjoyed that little act he put on, so his time here may be more enjoyable than he thought it would be. Ebihara later receives a call from Takahashi, who informs him that they beat up Akira really badly in front of a bar. Ebihara listens to everything they did to him, but it makes no sense to him since he knows Akira could easily wipe the floor with anyone Takahashi could have called, so why didn't he kill them and get himself in trouble? Ebihara ends the call and turns his attention to his dealer who has just brought him the goods he wanted to buy. These are the .38 caliber bullets that Ebihara's revolver uses, and even though there are only 5, Ebihara says it's going to be more than enough for what he wants to do with them. On another note, he asks the dealer how business has been lately since he knows it must be hardworking in black market arms deals, but the dealer says he's been getting through it by smuggling pets and selling illegal copies of GTA sticks. Back at home, Akira is going through his usual routine of tucking a body shape into his bed and then going into his bathtub butt naked to sleep. At the same time, Ebihara is back in his car and is firing his gun at nothing. The driver asks what he is doing, but he has no reason to try and explain things to him. He has his reasons, and that's all he needs to tell him. The next day after Akira has gotten up and taken a bath, he was watching the latest Japo comedy show when he got a text from his boss, which is really unusual. He checks what it's about, and his boss apparently wants him to go get a pet for himself while he is there, but honestly, Akira is more interested in the jackal stickers that the boss use. He meets with Yoko to discuss what the boss had said about getting a pet, but Akira just wants to get something like an ant or an earthworm so he doesn't have to deal with taking care of it. Yoko doesn't think that's what the boss had in mind when he said they should get a pet, so she suggests that they head over to the pet shop at the mall since she needs to shop for some new curtains as well. But then she looks at her phone and realizes that the boss wants her to get a pet too, so it's her problem as well. They arrive at the mall later that day and Yoko heads off to go look at some of the curtains available here so Akira can do whatever he wants until she gets back. He's walking through the store, but then he notices some bottles with Jackal as the advertiser, and even just a cut out of Jackal is enough to make him laugh. Sometime later at the pet shop, they take a look at all the various animals available, but nothing really stands out to either of them since they aren't the kind of people to keep pets for fun. He still doesn't know the reason why the boss wants them to get a pet, but after Akira sees a parrot just doing its thing, it reminds him of his favorite Nighthawk gun, so he decides to get this one. Just then, he notices Takahashi's friend just walking through the store, which he finds odd, so he leaves Yoko behind with the excuse of needing a bathroom break and is followed as he walks away. Takahashi's friend is tasked with tailing Akira while he's in the store, but he isn't allowed to beat him up in there since that would cause too much trouble. The plan is to wait for him to go outside, at which point the kickboxer will step in and knock a few teeth loose. The kickboxer still doesn't understand why Takahashi has it out for Akira so badly since he seems like a regular dude, but Takahashi has no intention of explaining the reason because he doesn't know why Ebihara wants them gone either, but it's now his job to harass Akira until he gives up on staying here and leaves town. The guy that was tailing him loses sight of Akira for a moment, and immediately after he's gone. He has no idea how Akira could have possibly made it past him when he was keeping such a close eye on him, but he assumes he must have just gone outside. He heads out to look for him, but as he meets the kickboxer, they both have no idea where he went. They then spot him as he is trying to walk away, so they start chasing after him. Akira finds this whole thing to be fun, so he pretends to be scared of them and starts running away. The two start chasing after him, but Takahashi's friend is out of shape, so he ends up getting left behind while the kickboxer keeps up the chase. He believes that there's no way a regular guy can outrun him when he has years of training under his belt, but Akira keeps running and running and running. Akira has a smile on his face for once, but since Kickboxer is running out of steam, he remembers that he has to pretend to be tired so that he looks normal. After taking a little break, Kickboxer resumes the chase, so Akira starts running again until they get to a bridge. At which point he jumps over the edge and parkours his way down. Kickboxer can't believe Akira actually jumped off and survived, but there's no way he's going to try and do the same thing, so Akira gets away and eventually circles back to the pet store so he can finish shopping for a pet. He asks if Yoko has found anything she likes, and in the time he was gone, she decided that she would get a hamster for herself. She asks what took him so long, but Akira just says he did something that turned out to be a lot of fun. Yoko informs him that the bird he wanted to buy cost 190,000 yen, which is insanely expensive. It is apparently a black-headed parrot from Brazil, but despite the cost, Akira still wishes to buy it. He still has to decide on a name for the bird, so he says he'll think about it carefully and heads home. Meanwhile, Takahashi and the others are over at the bridge Akira jumped off, and they can't believe that he would really do something like that with no hesitation. He didn't even seem to be hurt from the fall either, as he was able to keep running like normal, and on top of that, he had incredibly good stamina. Way too good for him to be a normal person, but Takahashi still doesn't know the details since Ibihara refuses to tell him. Back at home, Akira introduces his new pet to his room and shows it where it's food and water. He then starts thinking of names to name him until he ends up deciding on Captain as the bird's name, and it seems to like it. That night, Takahashi reports to Ebihara about how Akira jumped off a bridge to escape. Ebihara doesn't think it is too out of character considering Akira's skill set, so he warns Takahashi not to go after him anymore without his orders. And on another note, he asks Takahashi if he likes Yoko, and from all that camera footage he saved of her, he definitely does, which is why Ebihara tells him to take her out on a date and ask her all about Akira and what he's like. He just wants Takahashi to get close to her, so much so that he's even willing to give him the money to go on this date. Back to Akira, he just realized that the bird pooped on him, and he took that personally, so he rolls up a piece of tissue paper to fight the bird as his revenge. Over on Yoko's end, she is also thinking of a name for her hamster, and Takahashi is spying on her, so he tries looking up things about hamsters so he can start a conversation with her. But he doesn't have the brain cells available to memorize all this stuff. In the garage, Akira is now busy with his workout routine, and of course he's doing it naked because clothes would get in the way of his gains. Just then, the garage doors open as Ebihara walks in and asks what Akira is doing butt naked in the garage. Akira blames Ebihara for the situation since he just showed up unannounced, but Ebihara reserves the right to come to the garage whenever he wants because his prize car is being stored here. He doesn't drive it often, so he came to warm up the engine, but once he has done that, he turns to Akira and asks him if he's free tonight. Akira immediately covers up his balls and tells Ebihara that he doesn't swing that way, but that's not what Ebihara meant. He just wants to have a serious discussion with Akira. At the same time, Takahashi rings Yoko's doorbell, and once she lets him inside, he tells her that Ebihara instructed him to show her around town tonight. But when she asks if Akira can come with them, Takahashi immediately says no since Akira has an important meeting with Ebihara at the same time. Later, Yoko calls Akira to let him know that Takahashi asked her out, and Akira says the same thing happened to him since Ebihara asked him out, but he doesn't see any reason why Yoko shouldn't go since it should be a harmless outing. But while she doesn't mind going out with Takahashi, Yoko is worried about Akira and warns him not to go losing his temper and accidentally killing someone. At 9, Akira meets up with Ebihara in his car, and the two have a nice car ride together, while Yoko gets ready and heads outside to meet Takahashi. And while she may not show it, she is silently judging Takahashi for not coming to pick her up in a Benz. Meanwhile, Akira's date takes an interesting turn as Ebihara hands him a mask, which Akira questions. Ebihara says he still doesn't completely believe that Akira is really the legendary Hitman Fable, but Akira says the name was made up without his consent and rumors have blown out of proportion because of it. However, Ebihara still wants to see if those rumors are all true. They pull up to the location and Ebihara tells him that he wants Akira to fight that guy out there. He's a professional wrestler, but he is also a convicted felon and an all-around scumbag. Ebihara says he owes the Maguro group money, so they were initially going to just kill and bury him to send a message. But since Ebihara wants to see Akira fight, he offered the guy a deal to get out of his debt if he does this. The rumors say Fable is a dangerous man even when he is unarmed, capable of taking an opponent down in 6 seconds, so he wants to see it in action. Akira mentions that the Maguro group boss forbade him from partaking in any violence, but Ebihara tells him that this has nothing to do with the boss as he is doing this on his own. And Akira should consider it a mandatory request if he wants to live in this town for the next year. Meanwhile, on Takahashi's date, he took Yoko out to an all-you-can-eat steakhouse and she is judging him for this as well, but a smile still remains on her face even though she hates being here. And he is none the wiser since he can't tell that Yoko isn't happy with this date. Takahashi has officially fumbled the bag so hard that it's on the floor, but he is still falling in love with her as we speak. Back to Akira's mess. The pro wrestler outside asks to confirm if the deal is really on the table, and the guy confirms that he just has to beat up the guy they bring here until he is half dead or completely dead. It doesn't matter. If he can do that, then they'll forgive his debt, and the first thing he wants to do after he gets out of debt is borrow more money. Akira accepts that he's just going to have to fight this guy, so he starts flipping the switch in his head, and once he's done, he puts on his mask because he is ready to knock this guy out. Ebihara says Akira doesn't have to worry about the aftermath since they'll get rid of evidence, so he's free to kill the guy, so Akira begins charging at him. Ebihara starts a countdown to see if Seto Akira can actually take down a target as quickly as the rumors say. So while his opponent is still feeling confident about his chances of winning, Akira jumps over him and drags his head straight into the concrete floor before smashing his throat in. Seeing all this happen firsthand, Ebihara is now sure that Akira is the real Fable the rumors talk about. Now that he has done what he was asked to do, Akira says he made it so the guy won't be able to move for a while, so they can do what they want with him. But Ebihara gets out of his car with his gun loaded and points it at Akira, while ordering him to finish the wrestler off. Akira thinks Ebihara may have misunderstood the kind of person Akira is, but he says he knows how hitmen think, and they are a messed up bunch. He knew a hitman similar to Akira who killed 6 people just for fun, but Akira denies ever killing for fun. And now, thanks to Ebihara causing this standoff, the gang member he told to bring the wrestler now knows that Akira is a hitman. This was supposed to be a secret between the two of them, but now Akira understands that Ebihara's goal is to get him kicked out of the city. He starts walking closer to the rookie, so the guy says he should back off, otherwise he will get shot, but Akira doesn't feel threatened because he can see that the rookie's gun isn't even loaded. The guy tries to shoot, but the gun really isn't loaded because he forgot to slide it, so Akira grabs it out of his hand and knocks him out before loading the gun himself. In this line of work, this is something you should be able to do on instinct, so he has no idea why Ebihara would let a guy like that have a gun. At this distance, there's no way he would land a shot at Akira if he tried. But Akira, on the other hand, could easily headshot him from here. Ebihara admits that he can't make the shot from this distance since he doesn't have the same amount of skill that Akira does. But then he dares Akira to take a shot because he's going to keep walking forward until he is close enough that he can't miss. He continues to approach while yelling at Akira to take the shot and show his true colors as a serial killer. But Akira refrains from killing him until he is at point-blank range. But Akira still thinks Ebihara calling him a serial killer is a little dumb, since if he really wanted to kill just for fun, the entire Maguro group would be dead already, and he would be on his way back home. He admits that he doesn't particularly care about any of the lives he has taken or how many he needs to take for his job, but he doesn't want to kill people just because he's able to do so. He then stops pointing his gun at Ebihara and tells him that if possible, he would like to live out the next year in this town without killing anyone. And to show that he really means that, he drops his gun and bows his head to Ebihara, asking him to let him live here peacefully. Ebihara looks over at the 2 guys Akira beat up, and while he may have brutally battered them, he still left them alive, which is enough to make him reconsider pulling the trigger. Instead, he asks what life means to Akira, but he has never really thought about it before. Ebihara says that life is the only precious thing people have in this world, so he can't let someone who takes a life without a second thought roam around the situation freely. The closest thing Akira has to an explanation of the meaning of life is the story of how he bought a parrot a while ago, and it's the first pet he has ever owned, so he wants to take good care of it. Ebihara is a little conflicted, but he can tell that Akira is being sincere about what he just said, so he switches target to the wrestler and fires 2 shots into him. Akira complains that Ebihara didn't need to kill that guy, but he says it was justified since that guy is a real piece of shit. He has committed every horrible crime under the sun, but his victims killed themselves, so there's no testimony against him in court. Ebihara fires 1 more shot into his head to make sure he is dead, then he calls for Kuro to get up. As Kuro drags himself off the floor, he is still a bit confused about what just happened, so he asks Akira if he's a pro hitman. Akira confirms it, and Ebihara tells Kuro that Akira will be living in town for the next year, officially welcoming him to Taihei. He also tells Kuro that what happened here with Akira is to be kept top secret. In fact, as far as anyone is concerned, Akira was never here in the first place. With that settled, Ebihara says he is going to go have dinner with Seto, so he wants Kuro to get rid of the body the usual way. And as they leave, Kuro is still in awe of the fact that he got to meet an actual hitman. Meanwhile, Takahashi has just brought Yoko to a bar, and she actually seems to like this place, but Takahashi is regretting coming here since the place looks like it is really expensive. He doesn't know how much Yoko drinks, so he starts doing some mental math to figure out if he has enough money to make it back home. But then Yoko hits him with the puppy dog eyes, and he impulsively agrees to let her get whatever she wants here. They sit down together, and after Yoko hugs his arm, Takahashi is sold and is willing to buy literally any amount of drinks she wants, but by the time they are on the 13th shot, Yoko still seems fine, while Takahashi is absolutely out of it and can barely see right in front of him. She thinks he looks pathetic right now, but she's kinda into it since she thinks he is way cuter this way. On the other side of town, Ebihara and Akira are having some grilled meat at one of the best places in town to eat delicious protein. And while the chef is busy making the food, Ebihara wants to ask Akira something. He wants to confirm that he is the one that found the surveillance cameras in his room and busted them. But Akira clarifies that he didn't bust them. He only removed them because he doesn't like being watched, so he can give them back if Ebihara wants. The reason Ebihara is asking is because he knows Akira must have also spotted the cameras hidden in Yoko's room, so why didn't he take those down as well? Akira says that with their line of work, he never knows exactly what might happen. So it is kind of reassuring to know that someone is watching over Yoko at all times. But now Akira has a question of his own because he wants to know why Ebihara rushed to test him like this so soon despite knowing who Akira really is. He was risking his life back there. Ebihara confesses that his brother gets out of prison next week and he doesn't want to have to worry about minor issues while they celebrate his release. He's been in there for 15 years on a murder charge, so Ebihara wants to make sure he gets to enjoy his freedom. Akira doesn't really understand the sentiment, so he doesn't have anything to say about it. Back with Takahashi, he is currently puking his guts out because he's had too much to drink. Yoko comes over to check in on him and she finds it so cute that he can barely form sentences anymore. He manages to tell her that he'll be fine and she should go wait for him at the table, so she happily walks away, wondering when she started having a thing for weak men like Takahashi. But maybe it's because she's always around Akira, who's basically unbeatable. Takahashi is still in the bathroom, and he is struggling to pull himself together because he doesn't want to blow his chances with Yoko, so he pulls himself off the floor and gets out. But he is stumbling backwards as he exits, much to Yoko's delight. She is really enjoying watching him slam into tables as he makes his way back to her. And when he finally gets there, Yoko greets him with a huge smile on her face, but then he falls over due to alcohol poisoning. And this just makes Yoko smile even more since she can bring him home now. Over on Akira's end, he has just finished his delicious meal, although he waited for it to get cold before he touched it. And now that he is done eating, Ebihara makes it clear that while he knows Akira isn't going to be working while he is in town, he still doesn't trust him entirely, so if Akira ends up causing any kind of trouble, that he's going to be kicked out immediately. Akira tells him that he doesn't need to worry about him causing trouble, because he plans on living a totally quiet life while he is here. Yoko told him that he should probably get a hobby or something, so he might try playing video games to pass the time. Ebihara can't believe Akira wants to become a NEET on his vacation, and tells him that he could just get a part-time job to pass his time instead, but Akira finds that funny coming from someone who works in organized crime. The chef is just standing there this entire time and pretending he's not hearing them talk about this stuff, and Ebihara says being part of the Yakuza has nothing to do with his views. It's just coon sense. If he ever caught his son being a freeloader, he would beat the shit out of him for it. But then he questions why he is even having this conversation with Akira in the first place and says they should just get going, but Akira is actually considering getting a job now. Yoko has just brought Takahashi back to her place, and he can still barely stay on his feet, which is why she brought him here so he can act as her evening entertainment. With Takahashi passed out on the floor, Yoko proceeds to stack items all around him to make something interesting happen, and then she calls him over. He is still in a daze, so he just flails around with the things stacked around him, and after exhausting himself, he's about to pass out again, but doesn't want her little game to end yet. To keep him motivated, she takes off her clothes and starts telling him to stay awake for her. And one look at those titties and Takahashi is wide awake but still way too drunk to figure out how legs work. While Ebihara is driving Akira home, they spot that woman Akira keeps seeing, and Ebihara explains that she is named Misaki and works 5 different jobs to pay off her parents' debts. She hopes to one day open a store of her own. And while Ebihara doesn't like getting involved with people like her, he still supports her from afar. And if she ever does manage to open that shop, he plans to send her some gifts secretly. Once they get back to the house, Ebihara drops Akira off, but before he leaves, he tells Akira not to let himself become a recluse and to find something to do with his free time. Everything is peaceful once more. Takahashi is passed out on Yoko's floor while she is in bed, and Akira is giving some serious thought to the idea of getting a job, because that might be fun as well. Akira wakes up the next day in the bathtub as usual, and he turns on the water to start his day with a nice bath. Meanwhile, at the Maguro HQ, Kuro is in the office and greets Ebihara, and after returning the greeting, Ebihara asks where Takahashi is since he isn't answering his phone calls. Kuro has no idea since he hasn't seen him all day, but we all know what happened to him. That aside, Kuro tells him that the boss wants to meet with him immediately, so Ebihara heads over to the main office where Hamada has a lot to say to him. He realized Kuro was acting a little off today, so he questioned him a little, and after he got him to confess, he was quite surprised. He asks Ebihara why he chose to get Akira involved when he was instructed to leave him alone. Ebihara apologizes and explains that he just wanted to put Akira's true intentions to the test, but he ended up pointing a gun at him, so Hamada asks what he thought would happen if he actually shot Akira. The organization he works for is a total mystery, which means that Akira isn't the only hitman they have. Ebihara is shocked to find out that other people like Akira exist, and he now realizes how bad it would have been if he actually shot Akira. First off, the organization would have been guaranteed to eventually kill Hamada, Ebihara, and Kuro because he was a witness. But what else would you expect if you asked for someone to be treated as a guest and the hosts ended up shooting him? In any case, things worked out fine this time, so Hamada tells Ebihara to forget about it, but he warns Ebihara that he should think about his actions before he does anything drastic in the future. He then changes topics and mentions that Ebihara's brother, Kojima, will be getting out of prison next, so he doesn't want any trouble. Over at Yoko's place, Takahashi has finally recovered from his eventful night, and though he's covered with bruises that he's not sure how he got, he really needs to get going because Ebihara has already called him many times. Yoko watches as he puts his shoes on to leave, and that right there is the smile of a psychopath. Meanwhile, Akira was just getting around to feeding his pet bird when he gets a text message from his boss telling him that there's a soap opera on right now that he may want to watch. Akira listens to his boss and turns the TV on, and while he doesn't seem interested at first, his eyes light up once he sees Jackal is in the drama as well. A while later, Takahashi returned to the Maguro HQ, and Ebihara asks him what happened to his face, but Takahashi doesn't remember much from last night since he got so drunk. Although, he vaguely remembers Yoko laughing at something, so he thinks he may have gotten on Yoko's good side. He promises to get some information about Akira out of her the next time, but Ebihara cuts him off and says he doesn't want Takahashi spying on those two anymore. Instead, he'll have him work with Kuro on his next job. And speaking of which, Kuro apologizes to Ebihara for ratting him out to Hamada, but Ebihara doesn't hold it against him since he could expect Kuro to lie to Hamada's face. Akira is still busy watching the soap opera involving Jackal, and the girl is upset because she just found out that he is married and they are supposed to be dating. AI asks how many lovers Yuji has, and without missing a beat, he answers 5. One for each day, Monday through Friday, but then Jackal shows up and scolds Yuji for his scumbaggery, so Yuji concedes and decides to turn over a new leaf. He promises to make Ai his new side piece for Friday. Ai is somehow happy with that arrangement. Akira is hooked on this dumpster fire of a show now, so he can't wait for next week's episode, and while he was busy watching his soaps, Takahashi has been talking to Kuro about the things he saw Akira do. He jumped off this bridge and landed safely on the ground without so much as a broken bone. Kuro is amazed by how much skill Akira possesses as a hitman, but he can't tell Takahashi about Akira's profession. So when Takahashi shares his suspicion that Akira may be a former gymnast, he doesn't correct him. He is still really impressed by Akira's feat, so he wants to try and do it as well, but he obviously isn't Akira. So we hear a very distinct crack sound as his feet hit the ground. Ebihara is at home cooking himself a delicious meal when he gets a call from Takahashi, telling him what happened to Kuro. Because of this, he has to head down to the hospital to pick him up, and as Takahashi and Kuro walk out of the building, he asks Kuro if he's alright and offers to give him a ride because of his broken leg. On the car ride, he calmly asks Kuro if he was scared when he jumped off the bridge since bridges are pretty high, but then his tone shifts as he asks if this is because of what he heard about Akira. He grabs Kuro's neck and warns him not to even dream about becoming a hitman, because that's a job he should never involve himself with. Everyone who works as or with a hitman is guaranteed to be messed up in the head, so Ebihara never wants to hear anything about Kuro trying to imitate a hitman ever again. Meanwhile, the hitman is thinking about getting a new job, so he tells Yoko about it, and she thinks it would be pretty funny to see Akira working for minimum wage, so she helps him look for a new part-time employer. There are a lot of different jobs available, so Yoko went ahead and bought Akira a bunch of application forms so he can fill them out. But she reminds him that he had better not write down any illegal skills on there, otherwise, he'll be reported to the police. At the first job Akira interviews for, the manager reads his application and sees that he wrote down delivery driving as his special skill, But that isn't going to be very useful here since the job is for a salesperson. The manager just needs some to work inside the store, and Akira assures him that he'll be able to do that as well. The man is fine with hiring him, so he asks if Akira has any interest in clothes. Akira answers that he doesn't really like clothes much, but that's kind of a problem since this is a clothes store after all. The manager appreciates Akira's honesty since not everyone has a passion for fashion, so he still wants to hire him as long as he is willing to learn about clothes, but Akira really doesn't want to do that, so he ends up not getting the job. Next, he tries applying to work at a factory, and while the manager can see that he has a lot of driving experience, he says they don't really need any more drivers right now, so Akira doesn't get this job either. He didn't realize the job market was so rough, but as he is waiting at a stop sign, the woman from before comes running up. She recognizes him from the time he was getting bullied and put on a performance to make himself look weak, and she notices that he is holding an application in his hand, so Akira explains that he figured it was about time that he got himself a job since he moved here. The next place he is applying to is a florist, and Misaki assumes Akira must really like flowers, but he doesn't care about them at all. Since the florist is in the same direction she's headed, Misaki offers to show Akira the way, but she says he's going to need to run with her since she'll be late if she doesn't hurry. Akira is fine with running, so he agrees to go with her, and the two start running. Misaki asks where Akira is originally from since he says he just moved here, so Akira explains that he was originally from Tokyo, but he moved here with his sister. Misaki then asks to see his application so she can know what kind of job Akira is trying to get, and through sheer coincidence, the place she works right now said they are looking for a delivery driver, so Akira would be welcome to work there, and she'll even put in a good word for him. When they get to the office, Misaki talks to her boss and tells him all about Akira and how he got beat up by a couple of hoodlums, yet he's still trying hard to find a job, so she feels bad for him. The boss calls Akira into the tiny office. The first thing he does is call him a wimp for getting beat up. Akira doesn't deny it because that was the look he was going for. The boss asks Misaki to go get some tea for Akira, and while she's gone, he explains to Akira that the work they do here is graphic design based, so most of their stuff is delivered online, although they do still make in-person deliveries. Right now, they are in need of a new delivery driver since the last guy just randomly quit out of nowhere. He then tells Akira that he's going to be paying him 800 yen an hour, which is less than minimum wage for the country, and I'm starting to understand why the previous guy quit. He then complains about how kids nowadays are also demanding with their requests for a livable wage, and not being forced to do unpaid labor. So if Akira isn't happy with the terms of employment, then he can leave. Akira says he's fine with the terms, and even the boss is shocked because he can't believe anyone would willingly sign up for such a shitty job. But if he's found a sucker that's going to work overtime for no extra pay or even a bonus, then he's not going to turn him down. At the same time, Takahashi and Kuro are busy dealing with their own work, but Takahashi had no idea the Maguro group had such a huge collection of totally family-friendly DVDs. Kuro explains that it was actually part of a scam that they were running before where people would order something, but then all they would receive was a box of rocks. The people would often report the boxes to the police and the post office, but then the Maguro group decided to start filling them with 18-plus DVDs, and suddenly, people stopped complaining to the police about it. Switching topics, Kuro asks Takahashi what he thinks about professional hitmen, and Takahashi is a bit confused because he didn't know there were even hitmen in Japan in the first place since Japanese police would probably catch them. Kuro seems to still want to become one despite the risks because a short but rich life is exactly what he wants. Later that night, Ebihara had just finished eating and was heading back to his car when he receives a call from Akira. He may have given Akira his phone number, but that doesn't mean they are friends or anything. Akira explains that he is just calling to tell him what happened today, and after explaining it all, Ebihara is beside himself with anger. He had specifically told Akira not to get close to Misaki because he doesn't want all her hard work getting messed up by any trouble Akira gets himself into. Akira didn't intend for this to happen, but it just kinda ended up this way, so he thought he should let Ebihara know. Ebihara offers to get Akira a job somewhere else so he won't be near Misaki, but he already accepted the sub-minimum wage job, so he's committed to it now. Back at home, Akira tells Yoko about his new job, and she can hardly believe that he accepted an 800 yen an hour wage. It's ridiculous to think that an unbeatable hitman is working such a dead-end job, but it's also pretty amusing, so she has nothing to complain about. She moves on and asks Akira if he thinks Misaki is cute, but he hasn't really put any thought into it, much less with the idea of falling in love. But since Yoko mentioned it, he thinks he might as well give it a try. To learn about romance, he goes to the most accurate source and watches the TV show with Jackal in it, but the only advice he manages to get is to steal your best friend's wife for the sake of drama. The next day, Akira shows up to work early and sees the boss getting ready, which also means he lives in this office. The boss is surprised that Akira is here so early since work doesn't start for another 30 minutes, but Akira was just eager to start working today. The other guy working there soon arrives, and he gives the classic dead inside response, but when Misaki arrives, he greets her a lot more warmly. So Akira figures out the guy must have a thing for Misaki, and that's exactly what Akira needed to build drama. Meanwhile, Ebihara is currently meeting his brother, Kojima, who just got out of prison, and the first thing he wants to do after being released is go back to his old ways. This was the end of episode 5. Subscribe to not miss the next part.